I am Bilal Wahab, the Nathan and Esther K. Wagner Fellow at the Washington Institute for Near East Policy. I come from a family of scholars and activists. My father is the activist scholar, and my uncles were actually Peshmerga fighting the Saddam Hussein regime. So politics was always heavy in my family in my childhood. I lived in Baghdad until I was 7 years old, but the activism part as a Kurdish dissident living in Baghdad led my family to actually flee first to Kurdistan in the late 80s in the height of the Anfal campaign, which was a genocidal campaign by the Saddam Hussein regime against the Kurdish north. So I ended up living actually in refugee camps in Iran from age 7 until I was 12. So from Baghdad to refugee camps in Iran, but then back to Kurdistan after the United States implemented in part a safe haven where the Kurds could live free from Saddam Hussein's tyranny. Education has been my passion, and that's something that I inherited from my family, as I mentioned. You know, activist scholarship, standing for something. I didn't have a formal primary education because I did first grade and second grade, but then from then on, in a refugee camp, we did not have schools in the Iranian refugee camp, but what we had was a community of teachers and obviously a lot of kids. I grew up reading a lot, but I did not go to like an official proper elementary school. Putting a prime on education, I always worked very hard because I really wanted to come to the United States for my graduate degree, for my graduate studies. After the toppling of the Saddam Hussein regime, the United States reintroduced the Fulbright Scholarship to come to the United States and go to graduate schools. And that was a unique opportunity. Having won the Fulbright Scholarship to come to Washington and do a master's degree at the American University, that Fulbright was the best thing that has ever happened to me in terms of my education and my career. The Washington Institute is an excellent ecosystem, thanks in part to the caliber of the expertise and the fellows that work here, but also the camaraderie that exists among us. And as someone who has recently emerged from academia, to me it's very refreshing and very fulfilling to see that expertise and academic training allows me to contribute to policy making, both on the US government side and definitely communicate that to the Iraqi and the Kurdish side. So I could not have been happier than this. In 2001, I was in my third year at the Salahaddin University in Erbil. And a tall American man walked in and he said, "I will be your English conversation teacher." His name is Dr. Michael Rubin. And he said that he was a fellow at the Washington Institute for Near East Policy. And I said, "What is that?" And he used those two words. It's a think tank. And I found that to be such a funny expression. So I feel very privileged to be working at the first think tank that I have ever heard of. That's a true story.
I know.
That's a true story.